Leather squeaks and body slick under the dashboard light. This ain't just a pit stop, it's gonna be a long, hard night. Got my hands where they belong, exploring every curve. This cab's our private playground, losing all reserve. This ain't no Sunday drive, baby, this rig's built for sin. My rainbow's dripping wet, wanna know where you begin. I'll park this big machine, then park it in your tightest spot. This trucker's got a hard load, and it's gonna get real hooked. Pulled off on a dusty roadside, ain't no time for sweet romance. And just the urge you need to feel you taking every chance. My tongue tracing tattoos where the sun don't usually shine, making you forget your name while you whisper, you're all mine. 18 wheels and a pounding rhythm ain't just the engine's roar. My rainbow's got a throbbing hunger, begging for some more. Let's jackknife this passion till we both can't breathe. This trucker's gonna deliver everything you crave and see. Hauling a heavy package right between your eager thighs. This rainbow's gonna explode, watch the pleasure in your eyes. No need for directions, baby, just follow where it's wet. This trucker's gonna give you something you'll never forget.
Everybody's having a great week. I know I am. Today is Sunday, August 3rd. Having one of the best weeks that I've ever had in trucking. Bragging rights. We'll save that for the next video. I wanted to continue on the topic of the ELP, or the English Language Proficiency. I found a video posted by United Truckers, or American Truckers United, on X, formerly known as Twitter. And the video is an officer and a DOT officer in Arkansas administrating a English proficiency exam to a driver. Apparently he obviously failed, but it was still interesting, and it brought up a lot of questions, a lot of answers, and it showed a lot of flaws in it. First off, I mean, I'll be straightforward and say it. I mean, Arkansas dropped the ball on that one. I'm not gonna blame the DOT officer for this mark of shame, because I mean he was obviously trying his best, and he did his best. He was professional. But what I am gonna say is, Arkansas had 3 months. Not only do they have their, let's back up. They have their own English proficiency laws on the book, state laws on the book. And then on top of that, they've had 3 months since Trump's executive order came in. And then for this officer to having to have to call and ask questions on how to do the exam, Arkansas dropped the ball with that. Yeah, they had 3 months to train this officer. Now, mind you, this officer, he did the best he can. He called and he looked for answers. And he was professional from beginning to end. But he should have been prepared. They should have trained him prior to the law taking effect. And I say that because we're going to call it the English proficiency. The English proficiency law, it is a biased law. It is 100% biased. And these officers, these DOT officers, they have to enforce a biased law in a non-biased fashion. And it's not easy. So the fact that Arkansas did not train this officer ahead of time, shame on Arkansas for that. But moving on, I'm gonna play the video for y'all. This is circumstantial, obviously. I mean, the second this driver came into the weigh station or the checkpoint, I mean, it was clear and obvious. Not because he was Asian, but because he started right out the gate with the translator. Like he said hello to the officer with the cell phone translator. That is a red flag. That is a red flag. And then he told the DOT officer that he spoke very little English. And obviously very little is well below English proficiency. I mean, that would have been an out of service right there. That should have been out of service right there. But this DOT officer, he wanted to do the right thing. And he did. I mean, he knew the English proficiency law. He knew the executive order. He knew the FMCSA guidelines. He just didn't know the procedure. He just didn't know the procedure. So he tried to do a 2-step test. This driver didn't make it to the first step of the test, and he was placed out of service. So that was according to American Trucking United, that was the very first English proficiency test recorded. It was recorded the day the law went into effect. So, moving on, let's talk about what happens to the driver and what happens to that freight. So the driver stated that he had a co-driver, and the co-driver spoke a little bit of English. So chances are they're going to try and take the English Language Proficiency test again. they're probably gonna have the co-drivers right there, just so they can lift that out of service. Because as you saw in the end of the video, the truck was placed out of service until the defect was remedied. Basically, until the English proficiency test could be passed. So, obviously, that's the elephant in the room for this conversation. Passing the English proficiency in order to get that truck placed back in service. Obviously, it's not gonna, these two drivers are not going to pass. Well, this driver, I can't say anything about the co-driver because I just don't know. Well, obviously, this driver is not going to pass the English proficiency test anytime soon. So, what happens? What happens if the co-driver can't pass that test? Well, a few things are going to happen. They cannot leave that property. If they leave that property with that truck, at bare minimum, it's a $2,500 fine. Talking about losing the CDL license, it's going to destroy the carrier's reputation. It's going to destroy the carrier's safety score. It's going to destroy that driver's safety score right off the bat. I mean, keep it real. So, when you get placed out of service, first thing you do is you call your dispatch and you let them know, I'm out of service, and this is why. 9 times out of 10, your dispatch will tell you to call your safety, or they will call the safety and let them know. If you're an owner-operator, then you have to call the broker or whoever hired you to move this load and let them know. So, there's 2 avenues to take for this driver who can't speak English. Either he can have another driver come out to that way station, take the English proficiency test and drive that truck off of that property and run that load. Which means that he's going to have to hire a driver, and then after he hires that driver, if he's an owner-operator, he'll have to hire that driver. He'll have to build a driver profile for that driver because he would legally be required to. And then he would have to get that driver approved by his insurance to move that truck. If he is a company driver or he works for a company, chances are that company is going to have to bring somebody out. They're going to have to either Uber a driver out to that DOT station to get that truck. So the next question is, what happens to the load? Because I mean, this is going to be a process. It takes anywhere from days to weeks. So chances are 9 times out of 10 that load will be repowered. And repowerment that's a technical issue that's a technical term for the trucking industry. Basically, when a load gets repowered, that means that another power unit is going to move that freight. There is a process to that, obviously. I mean, I've dealt with repowering. I've had a couple of loads repowered. I've repowered a couple of loads. There's a process involved because you can't just show up and hook up to a trailer and go. Because by law, whoever is in that trailer is linked to the driver pulling. So if anything happens to that load, it automatically comes back to the driver who signed it. So the broker has to be involved in the repowerment of that load. Obviously, it's going to be easier if you're running for a carrier, because the load is going to be hauled by the carrier and not the driver. So let's say Swift is hauling a load. Let's say that this guy works for Swift. Now I'm not knocking the company. I'm not pointing them out. I'm not singling them out. It's just I happen to see a Swift truck in front of me. So let's say they're hauling this load and their truck is put out of service. It's going to be easier for Swift because they can just have another driver show up, hook up to the trailer, and haul it, because the load is legally assigned to the carrier. So Swift is going to load at the driver. So any one of their drivers can pull. Now, if you're an owner-operator, then it's a lot more difficult because you have to do I think it's called a alignment contract with another driver or another owner-operator, and that has to be approved by the broker or whoever hired you to haul that load. So, I mean, that is a process in itself. But I played you a clip of this Arkansas DOT officer. I'm going to play the whole thing at the end. Like I said in the beginning, the English proficiency law, it is biased. In nature, the law is biased. And that is the whole purpose of the law, I guess you could say. This is an example of biasness for safety. So, my question is, maybe y'all can have your own opinion on this, but do you think that that officer did a good enough job of establishing that the driver didn't speak English good enough? Or do you think more questions should have been asked? Do you think the DOT officer should have moved on to the second portion of the English proficiency test, which happens to be where the driver has to read road signs and explain to the officer what they mean? So do you think the DOT officer should have examined the driver on the second part of the second half of the test or not? Please write down in the bottom. Give me your opinion, and tell me what you think.
Day of an English proficiency inspection coming out of the state of Arkansas. The date of the inspection was the very first day of the implementation of Donald Trump's executive order. And so we're happy that this inspection resulted in an out of service for this driver who clearly could not read or understand our highway signs and could not communicate with his law enforcement officer. However, I'm just going to warn you, you can tell that the officer fumbles around with exactly what he's supposed to do. He clearly states that he doesn't know what to do because his leadership has not trained him on how to enforce the English language proficiency requirement. Now, at American Truckers United, we don't find that surprising at all. That's because the Arkansas Highway Police was one of the state agencies who stood next to the Arkansas Trucking Association and fought us tooth and nail to stop us from getting the implementation of House Bill 1569, which required English proficiency. Out of service violations. And so we expected something strange to come from them. I did not expect that they would receive a direct order from the President of the United States and then would just fail to implement that and to train their officers. But that's exactly what's happened. Now, what you'll find in most of these cases is that our patrolmen like to do the right thing. And they actually want to enforce the law. They actually want our highways to be safe. They don't get into the bureaucracy, okay? But what's going on across the country right now is we have a bureaucracy that's coming out of Washington, D.C. and coming down into these states, telling them what they should enforce and what they shouldn't enforce, and giving the momentum, I would say, on the enforcement of these laws. And so on English proficiency, we would be seeing a multitude higher out of service violations if these law enforcement officers were allowed to enforce the law, and if these law enforcement officers were properly trained on how to enforce the law. So I'm going to play this video for y'all. I would ask that everybody hold these leaders accountable. We need to hold everybody accountable in this, not just the state of Arkansas, but all across the country. They need to enforce the law. We've got people being killed on these highways, and we've got truck drivers and trucking companies that are being economically devastated all throughout this country because of bureaucracy. It needs to stop, and it's only going to stop through your efforts. Roll the video.
Hey, how you doing, bud? I'm Officer Smith. I just pulled you in for a quick inspection, okay? Thank you. ELD. Solo or team?
Team.
Team? Okay. Yeah, thank you. You can have a seat right there if you'd like. Do you have shipping papers? Bill, are you empty or loaded? Are you empty or loaded?
Loaded.
Loaded. Your BOL? Your bill of lading? Okay. Hey. So I'm assuming today is the day for the non-English speaking? Okay. Nice. Do you happen to have the questions that you're supposed to ask and the signs? Would I have gotten them, or who would it have been from? But I don't know how long to do out of service for. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I don't know what to do. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Thank you. All right, bye. Do you or your co-driver speak any English at all? Little? Okay, so it is law that I have to ask you some questions in English, and you have to answer them in English. That is part of the conditions of driving. Well, what are you hauling today?
Today. 6 to 5, 25.
25? Okay. Where are you driving to today? Where are you going today?
What are you doing today? AZ.
Say again?
Monkeys.
Okay. Trailer registration. I need your trailer registration. It's probably on the trailer. I need your trailer registration. It's probably on the trailer.
I cook.
Hey. Oh, I was trying to read over that English thing. Is there a certain amount of questions you have to ask? Okay, because I asked 2 of them and he didn't respond to either one of them, so I figured that's sufficient. Okay, is that something you would do a ticket on or no? I mean, I have before in the past, but I guess now since it's out of service, I mean, I don't know. Yeah. No. He has to use a translator. And that's another thing. It just says out of service until the remedy is fixed or whatever. So... yeah, I think I'm just going to do it as a violation this time and wait till I hear something further on it. Yeah, and I sent him a message, but I think he's probably asleep. I didn't want to call him, so I'll do it this way, and I guess if they don't like it, they'll tell me, and I can ask them tomorrow. Well, all right, man. Thanks, bye. Hey, can you... Okay, so by law, you are required to read and speak enough English to get through an inspection. So today we did a level 3 inspection. We did a level 3 inspection. The only violation is driver cannot satisfy the English Language Proficiency requirements of 391.11 as per FMCSA enforcement guidance. So you are going to be placed out of service until are going to be placed out of service until the condition is remedied. So if your co-driver is able to speak a little English, then y'all will be good to go. But until the condition is remedied, you are out of service, which means you cannot leave the parking lot.
Thank you.
Okay.